folks. I'm assuming that it is actually recording. We are now once again utilizing the Panasonic OmniMovie model PV-520D. I don't normally show off the floor in my vids because people tend to complain about the stuff on it, but this right here is the power adapter for the camera. Not sure if autofocus is actually functioning on this right now. Should be in auto. Oops, where is the thing? There it is. Yeah, the autofocus is doing something, but it's a little out of focus. The problem with this camera is that the power adapter failed. The original power adapter. And that pretty much rendered the camera useless because the battery, which I have one battery for this camera. You can see it in the box there. Is no good. Because it's a sealed lead acid battery, it's completely toast. So I had to find another power supply, so I did. Power supply worked for a little bit, put it away, and then last year, in time for the New Year's video, pulled it out again, and the power supply was dead again. So this time, hopefully this power supply will actually last. I've got some questions as to whether or not the problems are because of the camera, because of the power adapter, or if they're because of the camera. Because you might be able to see all the rainbow patterns all over the picture. And that's because the camera's got bad capacitors, which is a pretty common problem for cameras of this time period. Probably shouldn't fight the autofocus like that, but here we are. They're a little unwieldy to work with, these full-size VHS cameras. But I suppose they do still work. And it's a yearly tradition for me to use them to record the video of the clock sounding off, which we'll be doing tomorrow. People have pointed out in some videos on this, I've got the year set to something wrong. For instance, it's set to 1992 right now. It's not 1992 anymore. If it were 1992, I wouldn't be here. This camcorder does not go up beyond the year 1999. I think it was 1999. It was either somewhere in the 90s. It wraps back around to 1986. Which is kind of interesting because all the cameras that I've got that are based on this, basically the same exact camera, they all go up to into the 2000s and the 2020s and beyond. But anyway, I'm hopeful that this is actually recording because, again, I haven't used this in probably, I want to say 2 years now. And it only gets used once a year beyond that. So, sounds like it's working though, which is definitely pretty good. But we're going to be doing more than just testing this camera in this video. I have one more that I need to check out. Here it is. Might be a little bit difficult to see. But this is another Panasonic OmniMovie that I have had for a very long time. You can see it's covered in dirt. It's been sitting around for a while. This was rescued from the brink. A long time ago, I actually went to pick up a lot of camcorders from somebody. And I don't think any of those cameras ended up working, with a couple of exceptions. I think this is one of them. It was working when I tested it, like, 2 or 3 years ago. But anyway, this is a Panasonic OmniMovie. I think if I remember right, it's a PV-520D. Yes, PV-520D from November of 1989. So it's a little bit newer than this camera I'm using right now, which I believe is from 1988. I'll have to look. I mean, you know what this camera is. That's another thing that people tend to do in my camera videos. What did you use to record? Well, 9 times out of 10, I show you what I used to record, or I tell you what it was in the video, so... Anyway. That's a little broken right there. I could probably fix that, though. It looks like it's just a screw that's loose. But anyway. This is a more slimline design. There's the character generator input right there. Someday I would like to get one of those. I think most of these cameras use the same, if they had that. There's your control. Again, it's pretty much exactly the same as this camera. I'll make another video where I go over this more in depth after I've cleaned it as well, because it looks like it hasn't been touched since the 1980s. You flip it around. CCD image sensor, similar to this, although being a later camera, it's probably got a better CCD in it. These earlier CCDs were not very good in low light, or any light for that matter. You needed light sufficient for a football stadium in order to make them work, or you just take them outdoors. That's really what they were designed for. And again, there's a record button up here. There's also a record button back here, which you might be able to see right there, that red thing. External microphone. It's also got a light port. I have one of those with my GE. I assume it's the same one anyway. There's the microphone. It's missing the foam. They're all basically missing the foam at this point because it's from the 80s. The 80s were like 40 years ago, so that foam has just turned into dust at this point. But unlike this PV-320 I'm using right now, this one actually has the eye cup in place of the viewfinder here. So I'm going to see if I can fix this loose thing right here. I'm going to find a VHS tape. We'll go ahead and give this thing a try and see if it happens to work. And if it does, I will be right back, thanks to the magic of videotape. And I guess if it doesn't, then I'll be back to tell you that it did not work. Once again, thanks to the magic of videotape. Okay, I'm going to make the assumption that it's working. This is a Panasonic Camcorder, model PV-520D, full-size VHS camera that I have had for a very long time, and only just now I'm getting around to testing. Let's see, is the autofocus on? That's auto white balance, focus, auto. There we go. It's got manual, so we can do this, and then it's push to focus. Set it back to auto, which is where it should be. High speed shutter, 1/500, 1000, and that's all you get. It's got a self-timer. There's a light function. I did not get a video light with this camera. I should probably zoom out here. It does have a wind cut feature. There's a switch right above the viewfinder. I'm not going to turn that on because there's no wind in here. Then there's also a white balance switch. Right now it's on automatic. I can set it to... That's fixed. I believe that's fixed outdoor and fixed indoor. Set back to auto. Also, this is that has an iris control. There's all the way open. There's all the way closed. So you can set that back to auto. Here's the camera that I was using, PV-320D, which is actually from 1987, but it's December of 1987, so it's basically a 1988 model. I'm using the power supply from the PV-320. It's the same basic idea anyway for all these camcorders. Bunch of clocks that are only right twice a day, sorry. There's another camera that I got from the same lot that I haven't figured out how to power on yet. It's a beta cam. I don't have any tapes for it, but it could be useful as a video source. I'm going to go ahead and mention right now as well in this video, because I've had some people asking about some cameras and other things as well, computer parts, etc. that I show off in my videos. I don't sell things through YouTube, and normally I tend to hang on to things because it's useful in some way. Although the camera is maybe less so these days, but I do still use them every once in a while. Let me just test the macro. Please don't ask to buy something in the comments of a YouTube video, because the answer is going to be no. I think I'm going to conclude the video with that. It's just a short video. Hold the camera here with my hand. Try and break something in the process. I'm actually going to pull that off so I can actually see what I'm doing. This is a very heavy camera. I'm kind of surprised how heavy it is. But it's also got a speaker, I believe. I believe that's what that is. Yeah, there's a speaker in the shoulder portion here, because that's where your ear would be. But, yeah. So, it seems to work. I guess I'll find out if it actually works based on what the picture output looks like when I go ahead and record this into the computer later. But, there you have it. There's your Panasonic Camcorder, model PV-520D. Tested, finally, after all these years. Thank you for watching, and if you've got any comments, feel free to leave them down below.